anyway, we got some great things we wanted to talk about tonight, and we're grateful that you guys could be here with us. We know that your time is valuable, and so we'd like to get right to it. If you have questions, please go ahead and ask those questions through the chat lines. And as we have time throughout the presentation, we will get to you, get to those questions and answer them. I'd like to introduce Dr. Colleen Andrus, as she's our expert tonight and every night. I've never been in her presence when she wasn't the expert. And so,
thank you.
But somebody called me an expert once, and then they told me the definition of an expert was a leak a drip under pressure, because. So I'm not going to say that about Dr. Andrus, because anybody that does know her, and I think most of the people on this call do know who she is and what she's capable of. So thank you so much for your time and being here, Dr. Andrus.
You're welcome.
When I first started with Unicity, I was really, really impressed with the program and the products. And I was doing the transformation program, which is a 90-day program to get to your very best metabolic health that you can in a 90-day period. And I was taking several of the products. One of the products was called Matcha. And Matcha is kind of a weird name, but that's okay. I was told initially it was an energy drink. And I'm not a guy that needs a lot of energy, but I was also being very, very compliant to the program. And so I would set this little packet of matcha, I would set it on my desk on top of a bottle of water so that I would remember to take it every day. After a while, I started finding out that matcha was not just an energy drink. It very, very quickly became my favorite product and most people's favorite. It's the #1 selling product in all of North America. And it does incredible things for your health, not just that benefits of the natural energy and the mental focus. And then after some time of using Unicity, because Unicity is always on the cutting edge of science for metabolic health, they come up with another product, and it's called Unimate, and it comes in kind of a similar package. It actually does some similar, you get some similar feelings in your body, but there's actually quite a bit of difference of these products on where they're from, what they do, and what they do to your body. So we'd like to start off with Dr. Anderson. Could you just kind of quickly go and tell us the main differences between these two products?
Sure. So first of all, our matcha, there's a matcha energy and there's a matcha focus. This slide kind of gives a summary, so I'm going to go into it in a little bit more detail. But first of all, I want to make sure that everybody is aware that our matcha products are in the physician's desk reference, and that's really important to note, because if you're in the physician's desk reference, it means that what you're taking is classified as medicinal. It is doing something physiologic to the body. So it's not just some supplement that you can grab off the shelf. It actually is doing things in your body. It's got medical data to back it. And I feel that that's really important for everybody to understand. So the matcha energy and focus comes from the Kyoka matcha plant. The Kyoka matcha plant is grown in Japan, and it's basically a ceremonial type grade tea that is used, in their rituals. But the unique thing about the matcha plant is that it is a shade-grown plant, which means that it grows very slowly. And why is that important? Because slow growth actually increases some of the important substances that we actually have in matcha that do the things that are listed on this slide. It increases specifically our polyphenols and amino acids. Fast growing, you don't get the quantity, and so that's why that particular kind of plant is very, very unique. So the other thing about our matcha is that it is packed with vitamins. I mean, it has vitamin A, B, C, E. It's got B12, it's got zinc, it's got potassium, it's got protein, it's got fiber. So from a nutrient value, I mean, it's not giving us enough protein to maintain our nutrients necessarily, but it's certainly giving us a lot of those vitamins and minerals that we need. One of the big things I want to talk about a few products that is unique to matcha, and then a couple of products that are unique to our Unimate. The catechins, a very, very important component of the matcha. And the catechins are basically a type of that polyphenol that I'm talking about. And catechins basically have antioxidant properties. The catechins speed up metabolism, so therefore they give us some energy. They also, because of that antioxidant property, can help protect us from cellular damage. They also can decrease our muscle fatigue because they protect our cells. A lot of teas have antioxidants in them. Our matcha, the Unicity matcha, has about 137 times the amount of antioxidants compared to some of the other teas. It also contains something called L-theanine, and that is a specific amino acid that actually causes that calms our brain waves. And that's a pretty unique thing, because when you combine the L-theanine, which kind of calms us, you combine that with the natural caffeine, and mind you, natural caffeine works very differently than synthetic caffeine. It's much milder, but the natural caffeine stimulates wakefulness and it lessens that brain fatigue. And when you put these two things together, it really creates a better mood. It improves mental focus and clarity and concentration. So that is one of the really unique properties of matcha. You know, even though it increases our thermogenesis and gives us that energy with the caffeine, that L-theanine component doesn't allow our body to get that nervous energy. It's actually quite calming. As far as that natural caffeine goes, there is 9 milligrams of caffeine per ounce in the matcha, which if you're doing like an 8-ounce serving, obviously is about 75 milligrams per 8-ounce serving. Coffee, depending upon the type of coffee that you're drinking, has anywhere from 8 to 17 milligrams per ounce. So you can see that there's a lot more caffeine in coffee. And so, you know, when people ask about the caffeine in the matcha, it really is less than most coffees. And because of that L-theanine in there, it actually has more of a calming effect than people would expect from that amount of caffeine. But yet that amount of caffeine is still doing what it needs to do from a thermogenic point of view, okay? So as you see here, it maintains healthy blood sugar. It does not create a blood sugar spike. It does not create an insulin spike. So the ideal time to take matcha is between your meals. You know, we now are focusing on 3 meals, no snacks in between, and some people have a hard time with that. So particularly in the afternoon when our blood sugar just sort of naturally drops, it's a great time to take that matcha because it really keeps things nice and steady and stable. Improves mental focus, maintains electrolyte balance because of all those vitamins and minerals it has, increases thermogenesis, burns fat. The antioxidants are amazing, like I said, 137 times normal teas, and it reduces the cravings. So that is the matcha. So now let's touch a little bit on Unimate.
Dr. Andrews, can I ask a question here?
Uh-huh.
With the matcha, one of the things that I've noticed, most people, I've coached for a lot of years, and most people that are trying to control their diet and eat healthy, they struggle with craving, because we spend a good portion of our life. Conditioning our body and our minds and our palate for certain things. What is it about the matcha that helps so much with the cravings? Because if I have a craving, if I drink a matcha, that first drink, I no longer have that craving.
Well, cravings come for a lot of different reasons. You know, hunger and cravings are different. Hunger is your body's physiologic need for food.
Yeah.
Cravings is what we want up here, right?
Yeah.
So just by creating better mental focus, by stabilizing the blood sugar and insulin level, by drinking that liquid, it actually fills our belly. We increase that thermogenesis, so we have more energy, because part of craving is we're fatigued, we're tired, we're bored, it's downtime, right?
Yeah.
Or we've had too many carbs and now our blood sugar is dropping. So really it's all those mechanisms combined that help those cravings.
Yeah, and it's one of the very best craving things I've ever experienced in my life.
Absolutely, yeah.
Literally just takes away, and it just helps with that will to keep going and feeding your body more correctly. So I've wondered about that, because everybody has the same experience. I haven't had anybody that hasn't had that experience before.
Right, I agree, yeah.
So now you were saying about Unimate. One of the things when they first told me about Unimate, they said it helps gene expression in the brain. And since my brain is smaller than most people's, because I have a small cranium, what does that mean, or what does it do for my brain?
Okay, so one of the big effects of Unimate is just what you said. It affects gene expression in our brain. So gene expression is basically the process whereby the information in our genes, our chromosomes and genes, that get passed on, we basically our DNA. Okay, so it's the process whereby the information in the gene, which is our DNA, is made into what we call functional products. So it basically becomes RNA, which then becomes protein. And obviously protein makes up our body structures. It makes up the cellular enzymes in our body. So the gene expression, they're talking about gene expression in the brain. So there are certain components in the Unimate that actually alter that gene expression to create, again, better mental clarity and energy.
Like just turn a light on?
Yeah, exactly. So, those products are, the Unimate, I'll just talk about a little bit of the differences too. So Unimate is actually more a South American kind of product, and it's an extract from yerba mate. And then it's actually our Unimate, the Unicity Unimate, is sent to Switzerland for purification. And that purification process is important to improve the efficacy of the products that are actually in there. And the higher the efficacy, the better it does affect our brain function. So these 4 products that you see on the slide here are kind of the key components. So again, it's got caffeine, just like our Matcha Energy did. It actually has about 10 milligrams. Matcha had about 9. So they're pretty close, but this has a little bit more. Again, just want to stress the fact that natural caffeine is very different than synthetic caffeine. So the theobromine, also again seen in the matcha, but not in as high components. The theobromine is one of those products that gets into our brain cells and helps our recall, our mental focus, our mental energy. So theobromine and caffeine are basically called xanthines, and xanthines are stimulants, okay, but they're natural stimulants, and they actually can affect the signaling molecules in our brain, which then helps that mental focus. And it's a very complicated process, but very interesting. So the other component is the saponins. The saponins are actually the anti-inflammatories. Now, the really neat thing about Unimate is that it has a lot of anti-inflammatory effect. It actually has been found to protect us from some of the inflammatory response, if you will, that we see with fungus in our body, also parasites, and also can deactivate some of the bad bacteria in our gut. So the saponins are really more of an anti-inflammatory kind of component. They also have been found to decrease cholesterol levels. There's actually been several studies looking at saponins and cholesterol. I think there was the one that comes to mind, there was one that actually decreased our cholesterol by about 13%. So that is, I feel that that's a really big component of the Unimate. The other part of Unimate is the chlorogenic acid. Now, chlorogenic acid is, it basically slows down the absorption of fat. And when you slow down the absorption of fat, it allows our body to use our fat much more efficiently. And when we can use our fat much more efficiently, then it actually preserves those carbohydrates that are in our body, and it actually, you know, it can reserve those carbohydrates for moments of really high intensity purposes. So, you know, it's been found to not only increase metabolism and help in that weight loss process because of the absorption of fat, or the utilization of that fat, but also helps to increase performance because of the use of fat. Fat actually gives us 9 calories for every gram versus carbs, which are 4 calories for every gram. So when we are burning fat, we actually have more energy, believe it or not. So, and that kind of, it leads a little bit into the fact that it enhances ketosis, which is kind of the fat burning process in our body.
So now there's a lot of other products out there that have some of these same 4 ingredients in them. Interestingly enough, the Unimate has all of them, but I think we have a slide here that kind of compares that. And do you want to speak on this a sec?
Yeah. So again, knowing that the chlorogenic acid helps metabolism, and it slows down, you know, fat absorption, therefore use of fat, and improves energy and performance. There is 100 times more chlorogenic acid in the Unimate compared to 1 cup of green tea, 60 times more than a cup of coffee, 375 times compared to just a regular yerba mate powder. And then the theobromine we talked about a little bit before, as kind of a stimulant. There's 3 times the amount compared to dark chocolate. So the Unimate is unique in that it contains this, but it contains much more of it, and it contains a very efficient, you know, an efficiently produced product, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it sounds like it's pretty nutrient dense.
Yeah.
Well, you just mentioned a minute ago, and I interrupted you. I shouldn't have done that, but one of the key words or key phrases or catchwords out there today is ketosis or ketones. And you're getting ready to tell us something about the Unimate with that. Do you want to just continue?
Sure. I could talk about ketosis for a long time, but you know, so the liver, so basically what ketones are a class of molecules that are produced in the liver, And they're produced in the liver when our blood glucose and blood insulin levels are low. Because when we don't have sugar to use as fuel, then it keeps that insulin level down, and it allows the fat cells to actually release the fatty acids into our bloodstream. Those fatty acids go to the liver to help produce ketones. So ketones, we have three major macronutrients. Those are proteins, carbs, and fats. But in reality, ketones are sort of our fourth major macronutrient, because when we restrict and when our sugar content's low and insulin's low, and we can utilize that fat as a source of fuel, goes to the liver, and it's called ketogenesis. So ketogenesis is basically the making of ketones using those fatty acids. And so the ketones actually become the primary nutrient for our brain and for our muscles. So if we can get our body utilizing the ketones, it can be very, very beneficial for, again, for brain health, for muscle energy, and just overall energy, and for fat loss. Okay. You know, the big fad out there right now is the keto diet. Okay. And basically what the keto diet is, you know, they're taking synthetic ketones, and they're introducing synthetic ketones into the body. Those synthetic ketones are in the form of either pills or drinks or soups that you know, people drink. But with that, they're recommending people to eat 70% of their total calories as fat, but only 5% or less can be carbs. So their theory is correct, their thinking is correct, because you've got to have low glucose and you've got to have low insulin in order for our body to burn that fat. But if we can burn that fat, it does produce better energy. But we don't really know the evidence of what these synthetic ketones do. So, you know, when I have people ask me about the keto diet and about ketogenesis and ketosis, you know, my feeling is if we can increase our own body's ketones naturally, it only makes sense that you want to use natural ketones rather than synthetic ketones, right? So we know from studies that the Unimate increases the production of ketones naturally by 80%. Okay. The other thing, and that's you know, there's a clinical study that shows that. We also know that our body goes into that fat burning zone, you know, at about 4 hours after we eat. So, you know, anybody who sees me as a client or follows the Unicity program knows that we follow what's called the 4-4-12, which is basically 3 meals, preferably 6 hours apart, 4 at the very earliest, but preferably 6 hours apart with no snacking in between. Why is that important? Because when you go that distance and you aren't providing your body with any kind of fuel, your body's going to start burning that fat. And so you also put your body into natural ketosis and fat burning when you don't snack and you use that 4-4-12 system. So, you know, I'm all about natural, and why not increase our own body's ketones by just eating right? And, you know, the Unimate can actually increase that by about 80% as well.
Well, and last week, you know, not everybody on here was on here last week, but we talked about balance, and balance actually helps slow down the absorption of our food in our body, which helps get us to that state of ketosis.
Yep. Absolutely. And also our Lean Complete, because it's very carb, it's low in carbs and very high in protein. So, you know, by starting our day with the Lean Complete and taking the balance of the Bio 7 before the meals, going that 6 hours, you know, following that 4-4-12, and then also taking that Unimate, man, we'll be in ketosis all day long.
Yeah, the hard thing is, the hard thing is the implementation, because people don't realize how hard it is to eat only 5% of your caloric intake in with carbs.
It's like 2 stalks of broccoli.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like, okay, wow. And
Yeah.
so what happens when they're eating carbs above that limit, they're storing a lot of that fat.
Absolutely. Yep.
So,
Yeah.
So, and then, now one more thing before we go, it's getting down toward the end, but these two products, a lot of people, when they first come out, they said, so does Unimate replace Matcha? And my answer of that is emphatically, heck no. But what's your answer?
My answer is no as well, because even though they contain some of the same, those same important products, there is significant differences. You know, with the chlorogenic acid in the Unimate, the fat, you know, burning that fat, the anti-inflammatory component of the saponins, and then you've got the other, you know, caffeine type derivatives in the matcha, and the catechins in the matcha, which help, you know, the brain energy. So it's, you know, they're the same, but they're very unique in what they do. So I you know, I try to promote people to be on both.
Well, and that's what I do. You know, I'll be honest with you, though. This is quickly becoming my favorite product. This was my favorite one forever. But I wake up in the morning, and I love to put this in some warm water and drink this first thing in the morning when I get up.
Yep.
It's kind of like my happy juice.
Yeah.
My brain just changes to more of a happy mode.
Yeah.
And in the afternoon, when my brain cell starts to get a little bit tired and wearing out from the day and stuff like that, I take this, and I think they complement each other just perfectly.
I would agree. And you know, some people don't like the bitterness of the Unimate. And you know, that bitterness actually comes from the saponins in there, and those saponins are very important. It's a very important part of the anti-inflammatory nature, you know, and the gut health and things like that. So, you know, you'll find a way to get used to it, but the bitterness really does make a difference. It's very, very important to have that bitterness there.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. The first 2 times I took it, it was kind of nasty. But after that, I have built up. I never put anything in. I don't put any type of lemon. I don't put any stevia. I put nothing in it. I really enjoy it just straight up in the morning.
Yep.
But I enjoy it warmer. It shakes up better if it's warm. But now I use this thing first thing in the morning and this in the afternoon. What would be the best timing for you? What would you suggest is the best timing for these?
Well, I think that the Unimate is great in the morning as well. That's when I use it. And just a little tidbit of information. I've been a coffee drinker since I was 18, drinking about 4 cups a day. And when the Unimate came out, I was trying to get the Unimate in and the matcha, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much liquid. So I just decided, you know what, I'm going to try it in the morning in place of my coffee, because I liked how I felt with the Unimate. And I haven't had a cup of coffee in a year and a half since I started the Unimate. So I love that aspect for me personally. But I like the Unimate in the morning. I also feel that the Unimate should be used before a long workout, like especially a longer endurance workout. I think if people are going to the gym or doing a long run or bike ride, I think it becomes very, very important, because it's going to preserve the carbs, so that you're only using those carbs when it's high intensity, like going up that hill, you know, on that bike ride. And
how long before a workout? About
a half an hour.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the matcha, I feel, also before the workout, because of the metabolism and the energy, but ideally, if you're going to choose one time a day, I'd probably do it in the afternoon, as long as it didn't keep people up, because that's when we start to get those munchies. That's when that blood sugar starts to drop. That's when we start to get those cravings. Okay. So, you know, 2, 3, 4 o'clock, something like that. But there certainly is no problem in doing the matcha energy twice a day. So if you do the Unimate first thing in the morning, matcha energy, you know, between breakfast and lunch, and then again between lunch and dinner, that would really be ideal.
Well, you know what, Dr. Andrus, as always, you give us information that is just very invaluable. We can't really put a price on the stuff you give us because our health and our bodies are very, very important. The older I get, the more I recognize that my body needs to be taken care of. And so thank you so very much for your time.
Absolutely.
And one last little note, if you ever just want to indulge, mix these two bad boys together. Awesome. It's better than ice cream and chocolate. I'm not kidding. The flavor of these two mixed together are just off the hook. So anyway.
So I guess if you can't get used to the bitterness, that would be a good way to do it.
Oh, it's actually, have you ever done that?
I've not.
Try it. I do put this in about 2 ounces of warm water so it'll shake up, and then I mix it in with my matcha so that, because this one, if it's not warm, it doesn't mix quite as well. But that's just.
Right, yeah.
That's just me. But then again, sometimes those little floaties are like the chunk. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for being on, and we will talk to you on our next one. Watch for your the emails announcing when we're going to be on here again and what the next subject will be. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.